Hello everyone, channel. This is CA Sneha Challa, and in this lecture we will be covering part 3 of General Clauses Act, which talks about powers and functionaries. So I have already done 2 lectures from section 5 to section 13 in the past 2 lectures, and I have also covered an introductory lecture in the part 1 of this particular series. So if you haven't watched it, please watch that first and then come back to this video. So here we'll be talking from section 14 to section 19 of General Clauses Act 1897. So let's get started with the first section, which is section 14, which talks about power conferred to be exercisable from time to time. That means, suppose if I give a person some power, that means he can use that power from time to time till I take it back from him. Okay. So for example, we have seen that in the auditors chapter in the Companies Act, we have seen that the first auditors are appointed by board of directors, right? And then subsequent auditors are appointed by shareholders, right? So here, from time to time, that is after first auditors, whenever subsequent auditors are appointed, that is after first auditor, anytime you want to appoint auditors, the power is given to the shareholders. So from time to time, shareholders can exercise this power and they can appoint the auditors whenever after the first auditors end their term. So that is about power conferred to be exercisable from time to time. Suppose in Companies Act, we have seen lot of sections. In some sections, it is particularly given that in this section, if the central government wants to make rules, they can make rules. If the central government wants to exempt a company, they can exempt a company. So here we have seen a lot of sections where some power is being given to the central government. That means central government can exercise the power anytime they want, from time to time. It is not a one-time opportunity. So they can do it from time to time whenever necessary. So that is what is section 14 talking about. So moving on to section 15, power to appoint, to include power to appoint ex officio. That means, suppose I'm giving you a power to appoint certain person for a position. It will also mean you have the power to appoint the ex officio person. Now, who is an ex officio? Suppose there is a rule in my class. Okay. Suppose there is a rule in my class. Now, what is the rule? The rule is whoever, suppose in my school, whoever is the leader of 12th class. Okay, whoever is the class leader of 12th class, he will become the captain of school. He will become the captain of school. Okay, so he will become captain of the school. So now suppose a person A is appointed as the leader. Now that person will be appointed as the captain of the school. Now he is becoming captain of the school because he is the leader of class 12th, right? So he is getting this position because of his position in the class, right? So that is called ex officio. So that means a person is getting an authority because he is already holding an office in some other position. So that is called ex officio. So a power is given to somebody to appoint a person. That means the power is indirectly. So here let's say I have the power to appoint the leader of class 12th. I have the power to appoint the leader of class 12th. That means indirectly I have the power to appoint the captain of the school, right? So this is called ex officio. So here, if you want to take the example of Companies Act, so we have seen IEPF. IEPF. So in the IEPF, whoever is the chairman, okay, he is nothing but MCA secretary. So whoever holds the position of MCA secretary, he will become the IEPF chairman. So that means because a person is holding a position in this authority, he is becoming the chairman. So that person is called as ex officio member. So that is about section 15. So whoever has the power to appoint, indirectly that person is also having the power to appoint the IEPF chairman. Suppose I have the power to appoint MCA secretary. That means indirectly I am having the power to appoint the IEPF chairman. So that is about section 15. So moving ahead to the next section, which is section 16. Section 16 talks about power to appoint to include power to suspend or dismiss. We have already covered this in the preliminary introduction when I gave you. And here, what does it mean? Suppose I have the power to appoint a person. If nothing is written, then I have the power to remove that person, to dismiss that person, to suspend that person also. So that is called section, that is about section 16. So unless otherwise told, the person, whoever has the power to appoint a person, can also remove that particular person. Okay. Suppose in an act I wrote that I have the power. Mr. A, let's say Mr. A has the power to appoint. Okay. And it is written that Mr. B has the power to suspend. So here the act has clearly specified who can appoint and who can suspend. So if it is already specified, we will use that provision. But if it is not specified, then Mr. A will only have the power to appoint and suspend also. So if nothing is written, the person, whoever is getting the power to appoint, will also get the power to dismiss or suspend a person. So moving on to the next one, which is section 17, substitution of functionaries. So what does this talk about? Suppose let's say I want to write that this power is given to ROC. I need not mention the person's name. I need not mention who is ROC, what is his name. Okay, so if I simply write the authority's name, that is enough. So whenever we say power is given to President of India, we only write president. We don't write the name of the president, right? So if I just write the position's name, that is enough. If I just write the authority's name, that is enough. I need not mention their personal names. So that is about section 17. So moving ahead to section 18, here we are talking about successors. So what does this talk about? So if I want to apply any rule, suppose let's say if I want to apply any rule to IEPF, okay? So if I give a notice to IEPF authority, that is enough. I need not go and give it to individual person. If I give it to the authority, that is enough. Suppose if I want to apply any rule to audit committee, so if I give it to the audit committee, if I just give it to the whole authority, to the whole audit committee as a whole, that is enough. That means I have given it to everybody. So that is about section 18. So moving ahead to section 19, official chiefs and subordinates. So what does this mean? Suppose Companies Act has said that the directors have to send the notice to all the people for the meeting. Now, directors don't sit and they don't type the notice themselves, right? So, suppose they delegated this work to Mr. X. Okay. So whatever powers, whatever rules that board of directors have to follow, the same rules will be applicable to the subordinates also. The same rules will be applicable to Mr. X also. So that is about section 19. So I hope all these sections from section 14 to section 19 are easily understood by you with my examples. If you have any doubts, you can put it on the comment section. And in the next two videos, I'm going to cover the entire General Clauses Act, whichever is left. Also subscribe to my channel, like this video, and make sure to share this particular video. All right, everyone. So have a nice day. Thank you. See you in the next video.